Welcome back to another episode of the Wild Ones podcast, a show where we chat about bike stuff. Emily and Francis are in the building. How you guys doing?
Very good. I'm very happy I haven't got any hay fever this year.
Oh, it'll come, don't you worry.
Sorry, I've cursed it now.
In other news, Francis, this morning I was watching your BMX Everest video. Can I just say what an underrated video that is on the subject of overrated, underrated?
I'd forgotten, I've blocked that out from my brain. I don't think flat bars are very good for your back. Before doing this challenge, I only rode this BMX for
20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah. Maybe I should have spent longer on it.
Why didn't you get a bike fit?
What on the BMX? The handlebars being flat is bad for your wrists, isn't it? And I assume that is just like affects you further down the chain, so your back's a bit sore and stuff. But it's okay. It's nice having the leverage. And I can there's multiple hand positions, so it's all right.
The brakes look fine.
I don't want to know how far I've done. I was so ill after that in the middle of the night because I remember doing it, and to stay on top of fueling, we'd made like loads of sandwiches and stuff and loads of snacks, nice things that I like. And then 2 hours in, I was like, I can't eat it.
Yep.
It was like really hot riding up the climb, really cold riding down the climb, and my body just freaked out. Probably because I was doing an Everest, and then I couldn't eat anything solid, so I just drank maltodextrin for 10 hours.
Yeah.
And then I was so ill. I threw up things that I've never seen come out of a body before. It was bad.
That you didn't see go in.
Yes. There was like actual organs coming out. Bad.
So if you're new here, Francis did an Everest on a BMX.
Why are you thinking of that?
I can't remember. I think I was thinking of like challenge videos that maybe we could do. Actually, it links into a bit where we're going to do later. I'm not going to spoil.
Oh, okay, no spoiler.
But it was around the concept of challenges and weird bikes. But if you want to watch that, I'll put a link in the description because it's a good video, underrated video, definitely deserves more love, I would say.
Good times.
So should we get into the news?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, so firstly, let's talk about the new tech at the gravel racing scene. Cycling clothing with built-in hydration storage. So it's definitely very fashionable now, isn't it, for like bladder packs? It's like it's all over the ultra scene, even like gravel races that are not that long. Everyone's turning up with bladder packs, which is fine. Also in the running space as well, the like kind of adventure-y, traily running space, loads of people are wearing bladder packs. So you might have seen that it was Garmin Unbound gravel race that took place at the weekend in Kansas. And Rafa, Castelli and Rule 28 all debuted skin suits and jerseys worn by riders which feature massive pockets for hydration bladders. So Francis, you have done Unbound.
Twice, maybe three. I can't remember.
Wore a bladder pack for both of them.
I turned up without a bladder pack. So you use the word fashionable. I think it's the opposite of, I think they're just functional.
It's trendy though. It's trendy to have one.
It's become a thing
it's
to
become
wear
a thing,
one.
But I think for good reason. I turned up without one, and I was with Molly Cameron, and we were just hanging around the day before, and I was talking about the race and we're going to do it, and I was actually going to try and ride fairly fast that year, which didn't happen. And she said, "Where's your hydration vest?" I was like, "I've got a hydration vest." Then through a friend, it was Yuri Haswold, who's won Unbound in the past, left one on his doorstep for me to go and pick up, like in the town, and I went and got it, and then I used it, and then within 10 minutes I was like, oh, this is why everyone uses a hydration pack. It's so much more convenient.
Is it?
Better than bottles, yeah. And carrying enough, like not having to stop at every single water stop was really useful.
But presumably there is enough water stops that you wouldn't need to take a hydration vest.
Yes, even though they ran out of water on the first one last year.
So what do you make of the concept of a skin suit and or jersey that has a hydration bladder built into it?
Yeah. I would use it if I was racing it hard.
Yeah, it feels like it's actually not a gimmick for once. Because my interpretation of these kind of races, if you are trying to be competitive, is you're going to want to do everything you can to not stop because it slows down. It's like Formula One racing. They want to pit as infrequently as possible because you just lose time. It's as simple as that.
It's also faster. Even the non-integrated ones, there were hydration packs being made, which just by wearing them made you faster aerodynamically and it's a pretty flat race, so your average speed is really high, despite it being gravel, and it like creates a more flush line over your back, so they're quicker. That's why riders were using them as well.
It's ultimately going to be more aero and more aero than a
Aero,
normal...
convenient, everything in one.
But with this kind of jersey/skin suit is going to be more aero than a bladder pack, not in one of these kind of jerseys, because you haven't got the bits in the front.
Yeah.
I'd probably... Maybe there's an argument for it helps cool you down a bit as well, because it's actually going to be touching your skin more or less.
If you filled it with ice, maybe.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I would.
Could you? Yeah, you could. Yeah.
I actually, for performance, I think it has a place.
There's also, you get this effect, which only happens with the hydration pack. It doesn't happen with bottles. And that's the hose that's in front of you is getting all the wind. So it cools down the first sip.
Oh, nice.
Nothing hits quite like the first sip of your hydration thing for like 5 minutes or so. And then it cools down in the wind again. And then you're like, oh, that first is good.
So the raffle one, which I'm guessing Lachlan Morton was wearing, they are calling it... Is this officially what it's called?
That's not the real word,
It is. Blero suit.
Blero suit, which is bladder, aero, and suit
It sounds like a thing
merged into one word.
Have you ever played Ratchet and Clank?
No.
It sounds like a weapon or suit from that game.
Yeah. It's also got pockets on the back of the arms and the legs, because if pockets are on the side of your legs, you're not very aero. So they're on the back now.
Makes sense. Oh, on the back of your legs.
I think so, yes, and the back of the arms. How are you getting them if it's on the back of the arms? You're putting one arm up and then it's falling
If
out.
it's just like a cheeky gel, you just grab it and go,
True.
don't you?
It's for the racy people, isn't it?
Yeah. There's so many parallels with triathlon now, isn't there? Because there is obviously big drafting benefit, but often riders end up on their own, and because the race is so long and it is quick, the aero gains is very focused on.
I'm impressed that these three companies managed to release these at the same time. Unbound has really stepped up, I feel, this year in terms of it being used as a marketing thing to show off stuff.
I heard Emporia, the town that it's in, was struggling to deal with the amount of people this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's really boomed, hasn't it? So obviously, if you're developing your quote-unquote gravel range, this would be the place to debut it. But it's interesting that Castelli, Rafa and Rule 28 have all sort of come out with the same type of design.
So, yeah, how has it got around that's like... Because there's no way that all of those have just coincidentally developed at exactly the same time and released them at the same time. Someone's leaked that someone's designing it, and then it's got around and they've gone, actually, that's a sick idea, let's do it as well.
Yeah, or maybe they have like a secret club of clothing makers and they meet up every Tuesday to plan
The Elder
and
Council.
scheme. Yes.
In their hoods.
Yeah.
So will I be buying one? Absolutely not.
It's the opposite of what I want.
but-
I think hydration pack, I think, looks kind of cool when it's on the outside. That definitely doesn't
told you,
look cool.
trendy.
Oh yeah, trendy. Yeah, okay. Fair. Sometimes I wear one when I go running, even for a short run, because then people think I'm on a long run, and that's why I'm running slowly.
You don't actually, do you?
Yeah.
Do you actually
Yeah,
do that?
yeah. But I never put water in it, because then when you're on a bike, it's great. When you're running, it just goes
Jiggle, jiggle.
slush, slush, slush.
You actually are running bladder meme. There are so many London hipster memes, running memes about people that wear bladder packs and go for like 3K runs.
Yeah. Oh, longer than 3K, but definitely not.
Not 10K.
Definitely not 5K.
No, I'm a cyclist. I can't run that far without getting very hurt legs.
Why do you wear it? Just don't wear it.
For keys.
It's just like a little key.
Yeah, but then I've tried keys round with an elastic band there. Pockets, stuff's gonna fall out. I'll just wear the hydration pack. I've already got it.
Okay, fine.
No rules. How about that?
True, Jimmy. No rules.
Well,
No
yeah,
rules.
Correct.
And
No
the
rules.
added effect that people think I'm running slow because I've run for 7 hours.
People do not care at what speed you're running, especially in the north, because it's a mountain everywhere.
I also don't see anyone on my run. It's behind my house, which is empty. Actually, I did see a farmer yesterday. He was doing something and he just waved to me.
Nice.
I waved back.
I ran in a park on a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And I had that set. There was lots of people around, so I kept trying to run fast so they didn't think I was running slow. And I gasped straight away. It was far too fast. So you need to run where people aren't.
Yes, yeah.
Or wear a bladder pack, and then they'll just assume you're running a marathon.
True,
apparently.
I'm going to try that tactic. Yeah.
Good. There you go. I brought you around.
So this wasn't the only tech spotted at Unbound. Someone was riding an unreleased SRAM 13-speed XPLR Axis group set. And I'm pretty certain that it was actually F1 driver Valerie Bottas, who is massively into riding bikes.
Sorry, is his name Valerie?
No, Valtteri Bottas. I think he's even sponsored by like Canyon and does loads of triathlons and loads of races and is just like mad into bikes. He must have a marketing team because they make loads of really funny, silly videos around him and bikes and things like that. He's actually quite funny. But anyway, he had it. Why he had it, I don't know, because I know for a fact SRAM are unbelievably protective about new tech. So if he has got to that group set and he has gone to Unbound, that is intentional. That isn't a coincidence. It isn't an accident. Shimano are one of the sponsors of Unbound, and I think that it's a bit of guerrilla marketing.
And now we're talking about it.
It's worked fantastically.
They got us.
Yeah, they got us.
We knew it was coming. Am I allowed to say that?
Did we?
You said it.
I knew this was coming anyway from an anonymous source.
Oh.
It's UDH only, which you can see from the pictures. Do you want one more speed, Jimmy?
No, we've had a bazillion conversations about this. All right, so there is an argument for one by group sets with more gears because you get better spacing between the set, which I could probably
I
get on
don't
board
care
with.
about that, but I feel like people racing Unbound might care about that.
Yeah, I think I could probably get behind that as a justification for more gears. However, in general, it's just getting ridiculous.
Yeah. Another new chain.
When's the next one? I feel like if it goes big, get even bigger, I feel like it's not going to be one gear this time. I feel like it's going to be someone coming up with something radically different, and it's going to be like 18 or something like that.
Yeah, and it'll all be inside, hidden away in a hub.
No, I think I don't know. I'm not convinced of that because it gets
Like
too complicated. Then.
Arc reactor. That kind of tech.
Secret motors.
Oh,
What's the other news from Unbound then?
Apparently, lots of people were riding 50mm tyres.
rightly so.
That's a big
I saw
tire,
a
isn't
cool. So there's a Dylan Johnson, great YouTube channel. He's a gravel racer, does a lot of videos, performance focused, and there was a nice nod to him in one of the. There's a picture of like a bunch of them crossing the finish line in the top 10, and he's in shot, and you can see the other three riders, and they all have such similar bike setups, and he's been documenting creating the perfect bike setup for a race like Unbound. And it's just cool to see the inspiration. And there's a nod to it in the comments as well. I can't remember which rider it was. Just saying, you're responsible for a lot. Your hard work has enabled us to choose the right equipment for this race.
Nice.
50mm tyres are massive. They're really fast still. They're all running like super narrow bars, packs like these hydration packs that are fast. So it's really cool to see. Funnily enough, there was World Tour riders, Matej Mohoric, like gravel world champ, entered Unbound this year, and apparently they like panicked when they first rode the course. They did the recce and they're like, our tires are nowhere near wide enough for this because it's much more gravelly than the gravel world champs in inverted commas, which is basically white roads. So much lighter gravel, and you can almost get away with wide road tires. Unbound's not like that. So they panicked, reset up their tires for the next day. I think they went and bought some wider, and they still had mechanicals and problems. So it goes to show like years of, you enter the race 4 years in a row, and then eventually you nail the setup.
Who entered 4 years in a row?
People like Dylan Johnson.
Right. Got
Yeah. So it's just, it's like we do with videos. It's the same thing with anything in life. It's a good metaphor. You just do it to start it. You make mistakes, you fix them for the next year, and then by the time you've done it 5 times, by the time you've done it 10 times, you're going to be the best at it. And it doesn't matter how good the World Tour pros are, they'll turn up. It's such a specialist thing. It's Unbound this year was 2 hours longer than the longest road race on the World Tour calendar. So it's like, it's a decent chunk extra, and it's just, there's so much like little specialist things that they don't think about.
I would almost argue that it's more like a crit / time trial than it is a road race. Because although there will be bunch stuff, because of the nature of off-road riding, you have to work a lot.
The drafting is less.
So if it's an 8-hour bike ride, you're not chilling for 6 hours, 7 hours, and then putting in an effort at the end like they do in lots of road races. You're working for the whole thing. Like, you don't have the option. You typically can't freewheel when you're off-road because your bike will just stop. It doesn't just roll beautifully like it does on crisp, smooth tarmac, You have to actually work. So it is a lot more strain than sitting in a bunch in a road race and then doing a sprint at the end or doing a hill at the end.
It is. There's still a bunch.
Yeah, of course
at
there
the
is.
start, but it is the cognitive stress as well, because you're in a bunch, but the road suddenly, or it's not a road, suddenly there's a giant pothole or a boulder or something in the way, which would never happen on a road race. So you've got to really be switched on the whole time.
It's really interesting to see the evolution of this space and of Unbound and the gravel racing scene. It really seems like it's starting to mature and it's kicked up a notch and the times are getting faster. I wonder if in 5 years' time, a decade's time, we're going to be watching series of this type of race on TV like we're watching road racing pros at the moment. It feels like it's going that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the tactical decisions between what equipment to choose seem more important in this space than it does in road racing. So if
you like a bit of bike tech, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You're constantly...
But it's essentially a classic, but
yes,
way more hardcore.
long. It's just so long.
How long is Unbound?
200 miles. Yeah. And it's gravel.
But then how long are the classics? They're
The longest is Milan-San Remo, which is 180 miles, 185 miles or something.
but presumably has
Road.
tons of road,
Yeah.
if not all
Probably,
road.
is it more climbing?
shall we talk about the elephant in the room? Lachlan Morton winning the gravel race.
Oh, yeah. Well, but Jimmy owes the internet an apology. Apparently.
Isn't it great for cycling?
So we put out clips of the podcast on a channel called Cade Media Extra, and the clip of Lachlan Morton we talked about a long time ago in Overrated, Underrated is now being served to people, and people are angry with. Are they angry with Jimmy?
They're not angry with me. I was fully underrated.
Yeah.
And I stand by that decision.
So as part of that game, overrated, underrated, you cannot go in the middle. If something is not underrated, you therefore have to say it's overrated.
How could you possibly say he's underrated? You can't. You only can because you'll get internet hate.
Nah, I just really like him. I just think he's cool. I'm just a fan.
But
I'm allowed to be a fan.
You are, but that doesn't mean he's underrated just because you're a fan of him.
Your argument off camera has coerced me to changing my decision, but not because I think Lachlan Morton is any less good. It's purely based on the fact that he is outrageously
well rated already.
Yeah.
More so than so many other riders who do similar stuff.
At no point have I ever said he is anything other than... I expect him to be a very nice person. He is absolutely, quintessentially the type of person that I think is good for cycling. Absolutely. He is all about just riding his bike and having a good time. And sometimes that's performance, which is also cool because sometimes I like putting some efforts in. That's what riding bike is and exercise is, In that respect, he's an absolute 10 out of 10 banger, and I get it. Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't I get that or think that he's amazing? Because he is. The bit that I said previously, and I still agree with, is there isn't a reason why he is worshipped as much as he is on this pedestal versus other people that do amazing things and have won significant events and do amazing stuff for cycling. The overrated historically and still is specifically because he is like the poster boy for that world, but there are also lots of incredible people that should also be at the forefront of that space. I think he's an incredible bike racer. I think he's probably a very good human. From what I've seen, he's a really nice guy. I imagine I'd get on with him really well, even though I wouldn't be able to ride with him because he's too strong. Another example of someone in his little bubble that I think is amazing is Taylor Finney. He just rides around in jean shorts, which is one of my favourite things to do, and just rides because he enjoys riding bikes. The media machine that is associated to Lachlan Morton is probably what I struggle with.
Is everywhere because it's multifaceted disciplines, isn't it? It's like the ultra world shout about him all the time. They also shout about people like Lael Wilcox and Fiona Kolbinger, and but what they don't have is also all of the world tour stuff. So you have the EF team and all of their marketing, and the pro cycling world shouting about it as well. So that's why it seems massive. That's why he's so rated.
So rated, yeah, exactly.
So Jimmy, are you going to offer the internet an apology?
No, of course I'm not. Absolutely not. He is overrated.
Someone demanded an apology, Jimmy. Someone also said he is cycling Jesus.
Someone did say that, yeah.
Well, on the subject of underrated, the women's race was actually won by a lady called Rosa Closer.
That's a good name.
I don't know if I've pronounced that right. It's got an umlaut, is that what you call it? The double dot above the O, and I don't know how that changes it.
Or maybe it's like, ooh.
Closer. I'm going to go with Rosa Closer, and you can correct me in the comments if you'd like to. She is a full-time PhD student from Germany who only started cycling 3 years ago and started racing 2 years ago. The women's field was pretty stacked, and there was a proper bunch sprint finish at the end as well. So, and that's the fastest I think that it's ever been as well. So the standard is really, really growing.
I'm with you. Now, that is an example of underrated. Why has no one been shouting about Rosa?
Well, because she's just come onto the scene and she's busy doing a PhD and stuff,
But that's a reason to shout about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a reason for the media to go, this person is a normal person that is got a job full-time, doesn't have the machine of nutritionists and all of the free stuff in the world, and the best equipment and the best this and the best that and the best skin suits, and almost certainly Rafa have developed a skin suit specifically for Lachlan Morton to win this race.
Yeah.
Like, did she have all of that stuff? No. And why aren't people shouting about the fact that she has been able to win a race this significant and be effectively a normal person?
I mean, I would argue that they have. I mean, that's how I've seen this in the first place. It has been in the news. I would also argue there's probably a space for both.
He's also spent probably 15 years or more working out what he's good at, training hard, working hard, figuring out disciplines, and then eventually over the last 3 or 4 years has really found his groove.
Yeah.
And that's again an example of life. It takes a long time to get into a position where you're then getting the attention that you potentially deserve for your skills.
So the last point on Unbound is what I'm all about. 3 lads rode the race on Walmart beach cruisers.
Yeah.
I like this.
So they got these bikes cost $198, which in GBP is probably something like 150 quid.
Is that even cheaper than the Walmart bike that we bought? Yeah, I think it was $240.
So they stripped them, sprayed them, and then put them back together. I think this group, they're called Rodeo Adventure Labs, and I think maybe they sell their own bikes as well.
Brand.
Their bike brand. So they even kept the wooden basket on the front of the bike. And the quotes from them was amazing. They told Velo News, "Does anyone need a 5 to 10 grand bike? No way. The world would be just fine if we all rode durably built, well-specced, cheap bikes." And they're asked how challenging it was. They said, "To the average rider, extremely challenging. But for the sort of people who do this kind of stuff enough, this would maybe be 10 to 20% harder."
I think this is amazing.
I rode a beach cruiser once. I crashed it so hard.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was it a rental one or was it a...
Yeah, but I didn't rent it. My mate worked at the rental shop in Barcelona.
Oh, okay,
So when I came back with it, it was all scuffed up. He's like, "You crashed?" I was like, "No."
No.
my knees were covered in blood. Sorry, Stu.
In other news, the Women's Tour of Britain starts today.
If you're listening on Thursday, which is the day this comes
This
out.
has been at risk of not happening. It's like, it's happening, it's not happening, it's happening, it's not happening.
Yeah.
It's happened.
So it was rescued by British Cycling, and it's good to see that it is back. So of the teams racing, 4 of them are going to be actual full-on Women's World Tour teams. That includes SD Works Pro Time, which is the team that the road world champion and race favourite Lotte Kopecky is in.
There's also going to be a 6-rider GB cycling team there, headed up by Lizzie Dignan, my fave, Eleanor Backstead, Eleanor Barker, and Anna Henderson. So that will be interesting. And there's going to be 4 stages with a total of 488 kilometres, starting in Welshpool. It's the first Welsh Grand Depart, and finishing in Lee, Greater Manchester. And as I said, you can watch it live, I think, on British Cycling's YouTube channel for free.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that's what they need, really. You need to be able to see
it.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry to just, I don't mean to just bang on about Unbound, but I had to watch that on Twitter. That was the only way I could watch it.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the benefits, I guess, from British Cycling taking this on is that they're actually putting some money behind it too. I don't know whether it's going to be live streamed from the start, but I basically saw, you know how you can set up a live event on YouTube. They've set them all up for each stage, and it says stage 1 live.
Amazing.
So
It's an interesting approach because, you know, if they're going to the effort of actually producing the feed, which is going to be expensive, typically that ends up on TV, which doesn't really generate money. However, they're making the decision to put it on YouTube as a live feed. So in theory, there will be automatic adverts built into that, and British Cycling will, well, I'm guessing they're experimenting to see how much money it actually generates to go towards the cost of actually running the event. So it's potentially a really good way, and I think maybe we'll see more stuff on YouTube of these kind of events, you know?
Just live stream. They can have the super chat on.
Well, why not?
British Cycling.
Why not?
Oh, thanks. £5.
donate £5.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the men's peloton, the Criterium de Dauphiné is taking place this week, and it sees the return of Remco Evenepoel and Primoz Roglic. They were both involved in a horror crash earlier this year at Azulia Basque Country. Remco broke his collarbone, but they're now back in action for this crucial pre-Tour de France preparation race and are probably out to show fellow Tour de France favourite Pogačar what they're capable of. Vingegaard was also supposed to be competing at this race too, but isn't quite recovered enough from the more serious injuries that he suffered in the same race. Visma Lease Bike have posted photos of him out riding in the French Alps, though, so there's still a chance he could be at the Tour de France.
Yes, which will make it much more interesting. I mean, it'll be interesting anyway, but having someone, it feels like there needs to be some sort of competition for
it'll be
Pogačar,
lovely to have
doesn't
him
it?
back.
I feel like it's too far gone, though. I feel like I don't think they're going to be competitive.
What if they have the effects of like 10 years of training hard and now they've tapered? They had all this time off for the crashes. I don't think it works like that.
Do you want to hear a Tour de France prediction from me?
Yes.
I think that a lot of these really strong riders are obviously going to still be strong, but they get to go into the event with almost like a pass to just have a crack, try stuff new, not really care, because no one's expecting, well, maybe some people are, but the pressure's off them, in my opinion. So I think probably what we'll see is some really exciting riding in the first third, maybe half of the race. And we might see some very slightly more reserved riding from Pogačar. And once we enter the latter third half of the race, Pogačar will just take the jersey and he will stay. And he'll just blow the field apart in the last third of the race. That's my prediction.
His team will be so strong. So strong. The UAE
Pogačar's,
team.
yeah.
It'll be like lead out, train up the climb sort of thing.
So I think there's going to be loads of like changes of jersey and excitement and just unexpected stuff happening in the first sort of 10, 15 days. 10 days, I guess. Because you're going to have people like Evenepoel who will be like, well, I'm probably not going to win, so I may as well just get some good airtime for my sponsors, get some time in the yellow jersey, and just be really aggressive, not saving himself for the latter end.
That'll be exciting.
Well, I'm going to clip that, Jimmy, that quote from you, that prediction,
Yep.
and put it on the internet, and we'll see if it ages well. You might have to make another apology, although I think that one's probably less controversial than the other one on Lachlan Morton, but there we go.
Next up, Colombian pro Miguel Angel Lopez has been handed a 4-year doping ban for use and possession of human growth hormone before the 2022 Giro d'Italia. The rider was sacked by Astana in December 2022 over his links to alleged doping doctor Marcos Mena. He's now been slapped with this ban in the wake of Operation Elex, which is an investigation by Spanish police and the country's anti-doping agency into the doctor. The UCI's anti-doping tribunal found that Lopez was guilty of an anti-doping rule violation of the use and possession of menotropin, a fertility medication which can stimulate the production of testosterone in men. However, Tour de France stage winner Lopez says he's innocent. He put out a statement on Twitter saying, "The offence does not exist and the sanction is unjustified. I will appeal immediately before the UCI and defend my innocence as I've always done. I have faith that I will return to the world of professional cycling." He now has a month to appeal his ban to the Court of Arbitration for Sport.
So I started reading up on this Operation ELEX. The report claimed that dopers are allegedly still cheating by exploiting a loophole in testing times in Spain, specifically where this thing was going on. Basically, this report found that, and it was reported by Spanish news site Marca.com, basically due to privacy laws in Spain, doping controls are not allowed at athletes' homes between 11 p.m. at night and 6 a.m. in the morning or on weekends. So this is a period long enough for some drugs to leave athletes' systems. So it was claimed in this report by the Spanish police and the anti-doping authority that riders were using this window of opportunity to use banned substances.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Can I also just add, how horrible does human growth hormone sound?
Oh, ugh.
People used to do it at the gym that I worked at. I was a lifeguard there.
Were you?
And then you'd get the guys who, I was a lifeguard for a bit. And the gym guys were a classic gym bros. And they would start working there. I worked there for 2 years, and they're like guys who kind of started the same time as me, and they were working in the gym. And then they'd be like lifting weights, and they'd get well into it. A year later, they're like, suddenly their gains went huge, and then they'd come down and they'd let me on my break, and they'd come and sit and chat, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been doing loads of growth hormone, and that's why I've got massive." And they'd all get like acne and stuff as well.
Yeah, I actually think
All
there's a
over their
massive
backs.
problem with gyms being hotbeds for that kind of thing, but almost through grooming, if that's the right word. And
It is grooming, isn't it? Yeah,
Like
absolutely
peer
is.
pressure sort of stuff. Right?
there are older guys in gyms and people who potentially even make money off selling this stuff. And all of their mates are dead hench, and you go into it, you want to be part of the fold, you want to be in the clique. And I think there's definitely a pressure to be part of that.
So I had a gym phase. I don't know if I've ever talked about it. We probably have mentioned it at one point or another. And I was using a product. I can't remember what it was called. It was like a complete protein shake, weight gain shake thing that had testosterone boosters in it.
Oh, that doesn't sound very legal.
Well, no, it was. It was legit. It was just like a legit thing that you could just buy. It wasn't banned or anything like that. I don't think I could compete in a UCI race, but it was, but it wasn't like banned or dodgy. I should probably look into what it actually was.
That's why Jimmy's so strong on the bike.
It's also the secret reason why he hates racing is because he's actually banned from all UCI events.
In America. Yeah, I did used to take test boosters as part of this shake. I don't know.
And what happened?
Well, you saw the size of me when you met me. I was massive.
Oh, I didn't realise you were on drugs.
I wasn't.
There's a lot of people on not necessarily growth hormone, but I know people who are in sport taking testosterone.
Yeah.
And it makes a massive difference to their, like you people get TUEs for it as well. So they'll go to the doctor, they'll take it a bit, go to the doctor, take it a bit, stop taking it. So their testosterone then drops, go to the doctor, say they're tired, get tested, and then they're like, "Oh, you have low testosterone," and then you get prescribed testosterone.
Isn't it quite a common side effect of endurance sport? Like extreme endurance sport?
Low testosterone?
Yeah.
Well, if you're not recovering and looking after yourself, probably.
We're definitely not saying
Go and buy testosterone.
Go buy testosterone, don't.
I know for a fact that it would mess you up big time further down the road.
However, my I'm sure you won't mind me saying this. My dad now takes testosterone. He's 74. He was 74 yesterday.
Is he well hench?
And he was
Happy birthday, Ivor.
Happy birthday. He was losing a lot of muscle mass. And HRT is a very common thing. Hormone replacement therapy is a very common thing for women after menopause because your estrogen and stuff drops. But for men as well, you can go to the doctors and get testosterone, and it's made him much more able-bodied, able to do stuff.
It's just slowly through life, isn't it?
Yes,
It's like
exactly.
when you find a partner and you're with them for a while, your testosterone drops. When you have children, your testosterone drops, and then as you get older anyway, and then you got muscle wastage and everything as you get into real old age.
Yeah.
Well, not even real old. It's like 50 plus, right? It's hard to put on muscle. It becomes harder and harder. So I can see why people are tempted.
Yeah. I'm glad we managed to talk around that subject without really ever mentioning this guy so we can't get into any legal trouble. Well done, team. Oh, and finally, we should mention the suspected motor doper we talked about last week. He insists he didn't do anything wrong. So former actor Gio Iera was accused of motor doping at this amateur race in France. He said he didn't cheat or play any part in assaulting the race director who was allegedly hit by a van while trying to stop him leaving. In fact, Gio says, "I did not run away or strike the organiser." He claims he was being harassed to hand over his bike 2 minutes before the start of the final stage, and he objected because he was in third place overall and wanted to finish the stage first. He says race organisers were showing aggression towards him, so he simply removed himself from the area to avoid further harassment, and he claims he's innocent and isn't facing any charges.
That seems like a plausible response.
I mean, it came through a lawyer, and he actually sent it to all of the media outlets who had reported on this. Not us, because, I mean, we're small fry and we don't matter, but I saw it, so I wanted to include it. But he was very angry that people had talked about him. So
Understandably so, because for all we know, he is innocent.
yeah, true that. Meanwhile, we also talked about wanting to build up our own sort of concealed motor bicycle, and we received some good suggestions and ideas from listeners.
Annoyingly, yeah, I did some research on it as well. Annoyingly, there's like a company, an Aussie company that were like the go-to hidden bike motor company, and they went bust a couple of years ago, which is a shame.
Oh.
Mega expensive as well, the product. It was something like 3 or 4 grand. And it gets you... It's a 200 watt motor, which actually gets you about 100 watts because of it loses power transfer. It's not that efficient because it attaches to an axle. This one in particular attaches to the axle, so it needs to be like a hollow... What's it called? A holotech crank. Is that what it's called? Like the Shimano ones. It basically needs to have like an axle which the seat tube can go straight into, and then this motor basically sits on top of it and spins it around.
Oh.
And it can last as much as 90 minutes.
Wow.
That's a long...
The standard battery is 60. The boost battery is 90
How
minutes.
heavy is it?
2.5 kilos.
Heavy then. So you're riding the whole race before... So when we enter our race with our secret motor,
Yep.
Oh, I'll do it at the motor and you do it on growth hormone.
Yeah.
Cool. Lower risk for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess up my body, you know.
Yeah.
Body's a temple. So I'll do the motor doping, you do growth hormone, and we'll see who wins. But I have to basically get to at least 90 minutes before the end of the race with a really heavy bike.
It's not a really heavy bike,
2.5
is it?
kilos.
Well, yeah, so start with like a 5.5 kilo bike.
Oh, you're saying start with a really light bike.
Yeah.
Oh, and then when they do the UCI weigh-in, it'll be fine.
That's what we should pick out. When we weighed the bikes at the National Hill Climb, the British National Hill Climb, we should be the ones like, wait there, those parts suggest this is 5 kilos. Why is it 7?
Also, I should mention a few people have said that we need to listen to a podcast called Ghost in the Machine, where there's a journalist called Chris Marshall-Bell who is in an ongoing investigation into motor doping. So I'm going to listen to that as background research for when we build our bike.
I do actually have a motor on its way here.
Oh.
But it's not as concealed as I want it to be. So I've got a starting point for us anyway.
I know what you're talking about. That looks good though.
It does look good, yeah. So we've got a starting point, but I think we'll probably try and evolve it a bit further. Maybe even modify it. Time for another round of overrated or underrated. I'm going to read out a list of things and you're going to tell me if they are overrated or underrated. These suggestions are from Dominica in Bavaria. Bananas as cycling snacks. She says, hate banana peels mashed into my jersey pocket, but don't have the heart to just throw them in the bushes. It's a very good point.
Yeah, I Googled, when I saw this, is it littering to throw banana peel on the ground? And it varies. If you're in the US, it varies per state, but most people say, yes, it is littering, even though it's biodegradable. Bananas are a great source of nitrogen, and you can use them on your houseplants as a natural fertilizer. So because they do biodegrade. But apparently it's not okay to throw them on the ground.
It's
apparently.
probably because they don't want to encourage people to go, oh, well, I've got fruit, I'll just throw
I
it on
guess
the
if
ground.
everyone did it, there's too many of us.
And,
That's the problem, isn't it?
and people then start doing it on like concrete where it isn't going to biodegrade very fast.
Yeah, and it's not a native species if you're in the UK.
I think that's why it takes so long to biodegrade, even in soil, even in a bush in the UK. Whereas in some countries, it would be faster,
Interesting.
is what I've heard.
So banana as cycling snacks. Not great.
Probably are overrated.
Yeah.
I do occasionally do it, but it'll be when I know I'm going to like have a little, like say it's a gravel ride and I know I'm going to stop somewhere and I just make sure I'm by a bin.
The main problem is they go mushy and...
Oh, didn't someone used to have a banana case?
Case.
Oh, do you know what? It was Grace in my old job many years ago. She used to have a plastic Tupperware for bananas in the shape of a banana.
To protect it?
So you could take your banana into work in your bag and not just destroy it.
I would say that seems like a waste of plastic, but then it does solve an issue. It's creating solutions to problems that do exist.
Do you remember when you were kids that bananas had little seeds in the middle and now they don't
No.
as much because of selective breeding?
PM.
Planting?
No, I don't remember that at all.
Really?
Yeah. What were you saying? Overrated, underrated?
Oh, underrated. I like a banana.
Overrated.
Yeah, agreed. Next.
Torque wrenches for home mechanics. Underrated.
Underrated. It doesn't have to be a fancy one.
I was thinking those exact same words. Doesn't have to be expensive. It's just useful to have. I've snapped probably 3 bolts in my time.
3?
Francis has done about 500.
Yeah. I didn't learn my lesson.
I guess if you're not a tinkerer, then you don't bother. You can get them cheap though. You can buy them for like 15, 20 quid. And even if you want to argue that a cheap one isn't as accurate, it's going to be more accurate than you just guessing.
I would always take one. You always have to like reassemble your bike on the other end of a travel situation.
Fork mounts. So I'm guessing, is this just the mount? So like the option to mount something to your bike?
Underrated.
Underrated.
Great little place. I wish more forks had that on.
Yeah, because you can just not use them.
Yeah.
You don't have to use them. You could even take the screws out if you wanted to. But it being there is just an option. So yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Underrated. Thank you for your awesome suggestions. If you have a topic you want us to debate on overrated or underrated, please send it to wildonespodcast@cademedia.co.uk and we might read yours out even on a future episode.
Fluff up of the week.
How do I say this? I decided I was going to wax my top lip, basically, because I have some hair there, as many women do. I usually bleach it, but I decided I was just going to get rid. So I bought these apparently sensitive wax strips, and they arrived in our Tesco shop, and I decided to immediately do them, not thinking that there would be any further consequences. We were going out that day, so I just did it.
You didn't. You made me do it.
I made you do it, yeah. It hurt, but I had to suffer the pain.
Yep.
And then I thought everything was fine, but what proceeded afterwards was basically like a Hulk Hogan mustache, but in like bright red. That's what I looked like. I looked like Hulk Hogan, but it was just all
Hurt your
bright.
skin.
Yeah, and it actually ripped some of my skin off. It was like proper scabs there, wasn't it?
You do look great as Hulk Hogan, if I'm honest. I'm into it.
Thanks. So that's what I was walking around with. So I just had to put loads of makeup on to try and hide it. And it hurts so much. But pain is beauty. Beauty is pain, as they say, whatever.
You look great now.
I'm not doing it again, thanks. It has gone down. I was worried it wouldn't have gone down by the time we did this, but it has. So it's all fine.
Let's head over to your emails because it's time for Listeners Takeover. Question from Danny in Mexico. If you could modify a bike completely, similar to Pimp My Ride, what modifications would be your dream setup? For example, Zelda-themed bike, sci-fi stuff, crazy chrome chameleon paint, pizza wheel covers, etc. Thanks.
Sound system
Oh, definitely.
built in.
Elaborate. It needs to be... visualize it.
Well, I don't know. Like the top tube would just be... what's the thing called? Soundbar.
Yeah.
When you have a TV.
Yeah.
That is the top tube. So it constantly just loud music.
You've got to
in
have a
my
subwoofer
face.
in there as well.
Can I just say that is
Yeah.
so Pimp My Ride coded as well, because every car without fail would get a massive sound system and massive subwoofer.
Well, it's what bikes are lacking, isn't
Exactly,
it?
it is.
I don't want 13 speed. I want a Sonos in my bike. Is that so much to ask? I've done bike packing trips and not brought a speaker.
How would you charge them up? Would it just be solar powered or something like that?
You're pedaling. We already know
yes,
you
yes,
should be
yes.
able to harness the power, the dynamo,
Yes.
to power.
Yeah, you're
a
like,
real
oh wait,
powerful
that
Sonos.
tech does exist.
That does
It's called a
exist.
dynamo. That is a good point. I do sometimes, like I have a good waterproof speaker in the house, but it's too big to like fit in a bike. So maybe it should just be part of the bike.
Yep. What else do I like? Laser beams. Probably not much use for them on a bike.
Banana
Transforming
holder.
Oh yeah. You know what? This is a niche issue. Often I have to take a camera with me for work reasons on a bike. I don't want to wear it with a strap on my back. I'd rather have somewhere to put it. So a magic gripper of some sort. Bar bag, I haven't found a good one.
You know, we could easily
Make it.
make a thing.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, what? Easy for you, Mr. Make Stuff, while we're in your house.
Now,
Some of us are bad at making things.
now 3D printers are a thing. We can
Cycling
we can
Mikey
make
will print us
anything.
one. He prints anything.
I bet that you've great suggestions.
Thank
They
you.
would make cycling more enjoyable. But let's go out there. Okay. So I would like a bike that is 1.5 meters wide,
Ooh.
but
So
has
you
me
got-
positioned on the left.
So like a thing that comes out.
Yeah.
Well, that exists. It's a little plastic thing you wear. You like put it on your bike, don't you?
No, but in line with this question, I want it to basically look like a UFO,
Okay.
but actually it's a bike.
Some sort of extendable thing that came out when you were on a road. You don't want it there all the time, do you? But some sort of thing, that telescopic pole that came out to the right-hand side of you or the left-hand side, it depends on what side of the road you drive on, cycle on, that for when you're on busy roads, you can just sort of put it out.
Oh, it would enrage drivers so much, wouldn't it? They would
There would have to be a deterrent though on the end of the device.
crabs.
Something that would ruin their car.
Crabs.
Not damage, not like criminal damage, but some
Dog
sort
poo
of
bag.
dog poop. I think this could be achieved without being a
Yep.
Pimp My Ride special.
Pimp My Ride did some ridiculous stuff. Like they'd get like a pool table in the back that you're never going to use and stuff. Like, it would just be silly stuff, wouldn't it? We started rewatching Pimp My Ride.
Didn't last very long, did we?
No,
It has not aged
it
well.
has-
Which one? The exhibit one or the
exhibit one.
exhibit?
Yeah.
Not He Who Must Not Be Named.
The UK one, I'm assuming you're
Tim
referring
Westwood.
to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it still do that?
No, we disabled it, didn't we?
Okay, last question comes from Mihir. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It says, "Hey, Emily, Jimmy, and Francis. Love the podcast. I have one primary bike which I use for weekend rides, Zwift, and bike packing. It's a Giant Revolt Advanced Pro 1. It's a carbon fibre frame, SRAM rival axis group set with 40mm Cadex tyres on Giant's own Cadex wheels. As you can guess, it's an expensive mid to high-end bike. I also built a commuter bike from used parts from Facebook Marketplace, eBay, and a lot of AliExpress carbon for the finishing kit. It's an aluminium frame with a carbon fork, 10-speed Dura-Ace mechanical with rim brakes, Dura-Ace wheels, and 23mm Vittoria tubular tyres. It weighs sub 6.5 kilograms and is an absolute joy to ride. It's also flat bar and has a fairly high stack. The issue is my average speed when riding on similar routes in East London is always higher on the commuter bike by about 2 kilometres an hour over a distance of 5 to 10 kilometres, measured on the same Wahoo head unit. I'm not sure why that would be the case. I don't have a power meter on the commuter bike, but my perceived effort also seems quite low for a high average speed. I don't know why this would be the case. Could tyres make that big a difference, or is my bike fit off on my primary bike?
Well, so first of all, the difference between a 23mm and a 40mm tyre is massive. But it could just be maybe sometimes a bike that you get really excited to ride and you look at it and you go, oh, it just rides better. It feels better. It could just be perception. He rides that commuter bike and just goes, oh, this is fun, and just loves whipping it around town and having a great time on it.
That's a light bike as well, sub 6.5
Yeah, exactly.
kilograms.
They're both great bikes, but it could just be perception.
Well, he's saying no, it's not perception. It's average speed measured on his Wahoo.
Yeah, but he's judging how fast he's going on, how much effort he's putting in on perception on the commuter bikes. He hasn't got a power meter.
Maybe because he's riding with other people on his commute. He's doing what I do when I run around the park. He's running,
chasing people.
He's running faster and chasing people without realising.
Northback World Champs.
I think probably the most important thing is ultimately it doesn't matter.
Well, it maybe matters to him when he spent a lot of money on his giant Revolt.
No, it's the tyres, isn't it?
It's the tyres.
Yeah. Bit of tyres, bit of I'm having fun on a commute. I don't know.
Who knows?
It's a conundrum.
It is a conundrum.
I have no idea.
You need to change one thing at a time, perform a test, and then record your results
That's
like
time
a
well
scientist.
spent there.
Yeah.
Or just don't and just be like, oh, this is a thing.
That commuter bike needs to be your race bike. That's what I've learned.
Thanks for all of your emails. If you'd like to send us one, you can send it to wildonespodcast@cademedia.co.uk. That's the end of the show. Thank you much for listening. Drop us a like and see you on the next one. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.